Oh guys, now that I'm actually fully recovered from my combine experience, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. Number one is this. The giveaway that I did in the last video, the Buccaneers giveaway, will be ending around the draft time, so I have a chance to get a lot of people to look at that giveaway and enter it and whatnot. So if you want to go check out that giveaway, it's going to be in the eye icon right up here. Also, speaking of that eye icon, while you're there, also check out Spielco, which I talked about the Buccaneers safety options in a video that you can see if you go right up there. But in that video, I talked about some draft prospects that the Bucs could look at safety. But what about defensive back options in general? Specifically in the draft, what should the Buccaneers look for in terms of safety and cornerback? Because quite frankly, that's two of the biggest needs left for the Buccaneers besides left guard. Now, obviously, these scenarios only happen if Bradley Chubb or Quentin Nelson are not on the draft board for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they're on the board at pick number 7, I highly suspect that they are going to pick one of those players at pick number 7. But let's assume that neither of those players are at pick number 7 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is also just as likely, I might add. It's even more likelier than not that they aren't going to be there. So what should the Bucs do? Who should the Bucs take with pick number 7? And if they do trade down, what other options could they have in the first round? So today I'm going to be talking about that. So the first prospect I want to talk about defensive back wise is Derwin James, top 10 to top 15 pick. We all know this. Bucs fans love Derwin James. A lot of Bucs fans feel that he's going to be the pick because a lot of Bucs fans assume that Quentin Nelson and Bradley Chubb are not going to be there, and I imagine for very good reason. Now, when you talk about Derwin James, the first thing that you got to talk about is his massive leadership in the locker room. He's always one of the first guys to show up to talk about tape. He's always being very vocal, trying to keep players accountable and stuff like that. He's a very locker room leader type guy, and that's something I feel the Bucs could use because, quite frankly, especially on the defensive side, we need more leaders. We need more outspoken leaders. Yes, you have Quan and Levante and Gerald McCoy, but it's not necessarily enough in my opinion. The defensive backs don't necessarily have a really strong leader. Brent Grimes is there, but you kind of need a really outspoken young guy who can get people riled up, and Derwin James can be that guy. He definitely can be. He's insanely athletic. A lot of people have been comparing him as a more athletic version and a bigger version of Jalen Ramsey, which that's pretty impressive considering how Jalen Ramsey is one of the better defensive backs in the league right now. If it's true and Derwin James is a larger version of Jalen Ramsey, then yeah, that's pretty darn good. He's very versatile, can play linebacker in the nickel, he can play slot cornerback when he's needed to, but he is primarily, I guess I shouldn't even say primarily, he is a strong safety. That's kind of his position, and some guys we'll be getting to later on, not so much the case, but Derwin James is purely a strong safety. He's also a very good blitzer and he's very good against the run game as well, so not only can he come in on safety blitzes and just really perform very well, like I said, he's basically the size of a linebacker. Not only can he blitz well, but he's very good against the run game. He beelines it and just smashes the running back, sometimes in the backfield, mostly at the line of scrimmage, but he's very good. Some negatives though to Derwin James is that he can sometimes have some bad reads and he has very slow reactions. That's just kind of a matter of just learning the game quicker and just kind of figuring out wide receivers' routes. But he does struggle with that, and sometimes he does let up some separation. But all in all, he does have some bad reads. When he does take contact, he takes it flat-footed, so instead of him initiating the contact, he's kind of taking the contact, you know what I'm saying, and then he wraps him up and pulls him down necessarily. But that's not too bad. I feel like that's something that you can get taught very quickly along with the reads. You just need to get with some NFL caliber coaching and just work on that. But his NFL comparison is Eric Berry, so pretty lofty comparisons there, Jalen Ramsey and Eric Berry. That's pretty good comparisons. A lot of Bucs fans want Derwin James, and I can understand it. If it was me personally, if Quentin Nelson and Bradley Chubb are off the board at pick number 7, I'm perfectly fine with taking a Derwin James. The whole Derwin James versus Saquon Barkley discussion, that's probably a topic for another video if you guys want it, or possibly for a live stream. But I would be very comfortable taking Derwin James at pick number 7. Moving on, though, to another guy that a lot of Bucs fans, it's kind of split. Some Bucs fans want this guy. A lot of Bucs fans don't really feel this guy anymore, and that's Minka Fitzpatrick. Now, Bucs fans' opinions of Minka Fitzpatrick have been very wishy-washy. You know, back whenever all this started before the Combine, before free agency, before everything, people were insanely high on Minka Fitzpatrick. They thought that he was going to be the top guy. You know, they thought like, we need Minka Fitzpatrick at pick number 7, he'll be a steal. But now people have kind of changed their minds. They don't really know what to think of Minka Fitzpatrick. Quite frankly, I don't know either. But one thing that can be said for Minka is that he's very competitive. He's probably one of the more competitive people in this draft class. Now, I'm sure, obviously, they're all wanting to go to the NFL, so they'll all be very competitive. But Minka Fitzpatrick's a different kind of beast. He can literally play all over the defensive side of the field. He can play linebacker, cornerback, safety, wherever you need Minka, he can pretty much play that. He has good feet and he's very rangy, kind of a little bit more so than Derwin James in that regard. He has better feet and he has better speed and whatnot. Again, he's also a good blitzer and he's good in both types of coverage as well. Hence the move to maybe cornerback, or really it's kind of hard to tell, but he does let some separation go, unfortunately, which does suck, but it is what it is. And he does jump the gun from time to time in coverage, which means he'll kind of sometimes make a move too early instead of being patient. He'll kind of just, again, make his moves too early, and he doesn't show that kind of patience yet, but that's something you can teach. And the thing with Minka that a lot of people don't like, the thing with Minka that a lot of Bucs fans don't like, is that he is not locked down as a pure safety like Derwin James. People don't know if he's a cornerback or he's a safety. It's kind of hard to tell. That's the big problem. Is he a cornerback or is he a safety? Where do we put Minka Fitzpatrick, you know? And he can play both positions well, but he's not really locked down as a pure, okay, he's a safety or he's a cornerback. He's kind of in between, and Bucs fans don't like that much. But his NFL comparison is Budda Baker. So again, another pretty good comparison. A lot of Bucs fans wanted Budda Baker last year, including myself. But right now they've kind of shifted their focus from Minka Fitzpatrick to Derwin James. And then moving on to another option that's kind of been coming up recently. Bucs fans have been talking more about it, I guess you could say, and that's Denzel Ward, cornerback from the Ohio State University, as all of my Ohio State friends have corrected me on. Now, when you talk about Denzel Ward, he's been creeping his way up draft boards, you know, and he might make sense to pick number 7. We're not too sure yet. But massive athletic ability. Again, a lot of these guys are just insanely athletic. That's what you're going to be probably hearing from me a lot for all these guys, is that they're just insanely athletic. Very good at press, which fits the Bucs a lot. I feel like the Bucs kind of have been playing smaller cornerbacks who like to do press, Vernon Hargreaves, Brent Grimes, stuff like that. And Denzel Ward would fit in perfectly. Obviously, Vernon Hargreaves plays very well in press. Brent Grimes is pretty much good at everything. And if Denzel Ward's good at press as well, then really it's kind of hard to argue that this would be a bad pick for the Bucs at pick 7. But he's very good patience and coverage, probably better than Minka Fitzpatrick in my opinion. He's better at patience and probably better than Derwin James in terms of patience and coverage. He is a cornerback, obviously, and those two are arguably safeties. Again, with Minka, it's hard to tell, but Denzel Ward has very good patience, and he also is very good at matching speed with wide receivers, which ties into that athletic ability like I talked about. And when he plays wide receivers routes, like if it's a comeback route, he'll play the underneath bit, so it takes away the comeback portion of that route. And if the wide receiver just decides to go, Denzel Ward has enough speed and reaction time to go with that wide receiver and make good plays on it. And speaking of his coverage ability, he allowed just 32% completion percentage over the past 2 seasons while at the Ohio State University, which was very good, very good. And he's a massive ball hawk, very good at just being around the ball, playing the wide receiver. He's an all-around good cornerback. The negatives for him is he's a little bit small in size and frame, but again, it's kind of what the Bucs are looking for, honestly. I don't necessarily agree with the whole small cornerback thing. Like, I'm okay with it because whatever works, but I think Denzel Ward would be fine. And he's also having trouble with big blocking wide receivers. So if he was to cover Mike Evans on a run play, Mike Evans would probably get him pretty good, you know? And his NFL comparison, though, is Chris Harris Jr. So again, another pretty good comparison. But that's kind of somebody who's been creeping up in Bucs fans' minds. I don't know if he's there yet, but he's creeping up there. Look for him to maybe get more into discussions as the month goes on. But next is Josh Jackson out of Iowa. Now, arguably, Josh Jackson is the best ball hawk in this entire draft. He's just all around the ball, has multiple interceptions, multiple pass breakups. I can't remember the stats, but he had an insane amount of pass breakups and interceptions this past season. He plays the ball, not the man, so he's not as aggressive as some other guys in this list. But he does play the ball, and he's very conservative, what that means. You know, he's very conservative. He plays well in big games, so he's played against some big guys like Ohio State when they beat Ohio State and some other games as well. I think against Penn State they played. And he has very good size for bigger wide receivers. He's, I believe, 6'1", 195. That's pretty big. Yeah, that's pretty big. If I had to compare him, I'd say he's probably a better version of maybe like a Brandon Browner. He's a less aggressive version of Brandon Browner, back whenever Brandon Browner was actually good, not getting 1,000 penalties. But I like Josh Jackson a lot, and he's kind of, again, he's another one of those sneaky guys who sometimes gets into the discussion for Bucs fans. However, I don't really see the Bucs taking him with pick number 7. The only way I would see the Bucs taking Josh Jackson is if they traded back or something, arguably, maybe with the Buffalo Bills, we don't know. But Josh Jackson's an option. But moving on to Carleton Davis, another cornerback again, round 1 to round 2 pick. He has everything. Good height, good weight, good length, good athleticism, amazing in press. Like I said, he's pretty much like a Denzel Ward, except bigger, just bigger and lengthier, you know? He's kind of the same as Denzel Ward, except just bigger. He plays with a lot of confidence, but he's a little bit more... He does play with confidence, and that's good, but he does have sometimes trouble with routes in space, and he does have a little bit of a speed issue. So we're comparing him to Denzel Ward real quick. If he is the bigger version, the bigger, lengthier version of Denzel Ward, he's the more aggressive version, whereas Denzel Ward plays with patience and smartness and, you know, obviously mentality. Denzel Ward is the bigger, slightly slower version of Denzel Ward, and that's not bad. That's not bad, but it can be a problem, obviously, if you get him in space. You know, if it was a wide receiver screen or something, you hit him on an out route, Carleton Davis is going to struggle. But his NFL comparison is Richard Sherman, so that's pretty good, you know, that's pretty darn impressive. But like Richard Sherman, he would have to have his mental awareness and his route reading and stuff like that would have to be phenomenal for him to make up for that lack of speed that Richard Sherman has. Richard Sherman is one of the best in the game at making up for his speed because he's so smart that he can pretty much just flat out predict what's going to happen on plays sometimes. He's very good at baiting quarterbacks as well. So that's kind of what Carleton Davis would have to develop into, his mental awareness and his route reading and stuff like that. That's what Carleton Davis would have to work on. And then finally, guys, the final guy we're going to be talking about is safety Justin Reid. Now, brother to Eric Reid. Now, I talked about this in defensive back videos a while ago, and I talked about this in my Spielko video, which again, you can check out in the eye icon above. But Justin Reid's better than his brother. Quite frankly, he just is. Not just according to me, but according to NFL executives as well. Better in coverage than his brother. Very good size and speed, and he's not just good in zone coverage, he's good in man coverage as well, which is very good, which means he can cover tight ends very well, running backs as just as good. And there is sometimes that he's too aggressive in coverages, like I said, it wasn't Derwin James, was it? With I believe Josh Jackson. I can't remember. It was either Derwin James or Josh Jackson. He does get a little bit too aggressive, which obviously can be a problem because you're jumping routes too early. You don't have the patience. You struggle with coverages and whatnot like that. However, a lot of people have labeled Justin Reid as a Pro Bowl safety potentially, which is kind of a weird comparison because it's like, well, the Pro Bowl doesn't mean much sometimes, so what's the point? But still, it's an accolade that you see a lot of good players getting. So makes sense to me. I like Justin Reid a lot, but if I had to pick some top guys that I would want out of all these defensive backs, honestly, I really like Derwin James a lot. I'm not sure on Minka Fitzpatrick. Denzel Ward I like a lot as well. Josh Jackson I like a lot, and I'm not too sure about Carleton Davis or Justin Reid, but 3 guys that I like are Josh Jackson, Denzel Ward, and Derwin James. But yeah, guys, that's it for this video. The Bucs options for the defensive back position in the at least the first 2 second round of the draft. Now, will the Bucs trade back, get a couple of picks from the Buffalo Bills? That yet remains to be seen. So it's very interesting. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Maybe there's some late round guys that you like. Again, let me know down in the comment section below, and I'd love to hear about it from you guys. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Again, thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. It means a lot. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys. See ya.